my name is Lynn. I'm the director of the Drexel collection, and I want to welcome you to the newly renovated main building's great court with our recently restored ceiling back to the 1890s. Today in the Drexel collection, I'm going to show you how to properly handle, move, and care for collections.
Great, and I work with Lynn. I'm Derek. I'm director of the Drexel University Collections and Exhibitions and Professor of Art History and Museum Leadership. And I'm going to partner Lynn in this exercise, talking about handling and also about connoisseurship.
Welcome to collection storage for the Drexel collection. First thing I want to talk about are some of the tools that we use when we are handling objects. We always wear gloves when handling medals or photographs or gilded frames, pieces that are susceptible to the oils in your hands, causing damage to them. We use baskets to carry smaller objects around campus. We use dollies for some of the larger objects, and carts as well. One of the things you want to be sure to check before moving any object is you want to make sure to look for any moving parts or damage, and just basically give the object an assessment before you pick it up. For instance, this York Minster Cathedral from 1865 is actually made out of cork, and it's quite light, and it has been damaged in the past due to someone lifting it a little too vigorously and causing damage to some of the steeples. The next thing you want to do is you want to make sure to plan a route when you're moving an object. You want to look out for any other objects in the way, people, corners. You want to make sure any doors are held open. So I'm going to move this tea kettle here. It's made of copper, and so I will be wearing gloves to do it. I'll be sure not to lift it by its handle, as that's a weak area as well as a moving part on the kettle. And then I'm going to just take it out into the next storage room, watching corners and angles and anyone else who's in the space.
Right, well, so what have we got here? Let's have a first look, and when you get an object, one of the things you do want to check and see if there are any breakages or damages or weak parts, and you certainly don't want to pick things up by weak parts. So I can see this has been broken and restored. So I'm going to turn it over, and what can we see here? So first thing we see is a group of collector's labels. So it tells us that this is an object which has been prized. And indeed, this is Drexel's most recent acquisition to the Drexel collection, and it came from Professor Brian Salzberg at the University of Pennsylvania, and he very generously donated this to us. And it's got his label on the back. It's also got a number of other labels, including an exhibition label from London, and it actually originally came in Europe from Blewitts, and it was actually owned by one of the partners of Blewett, Brian Morgan. So got a nice provenance going back into the 20th, deep into the 20th century. So what is it? You can see it's a dish, small, relatively mid-sized dish with a lotus. There's the lotus bud and the lotus leaf, and it's carved, deeply carved. So, Chinese, and it belongs to a tradition of making ceramics which is the most sophisticated in world history. Why is that? It's because the raw materials for making great ceramics are abundant in China, both the clays of the north, the rocks of the south. There was very, very early discovery of how to create and modify kilns to get them to fire to really high temperatures. The temperatures that were achieved in China in the second millennium BC weren't matched in Europe until the 18th century CE. So this particular dish was made in Shanxi province, which is in north central China, and it's called Yaozhou ware. It's in the West it's called northern celadon. Celadon's a French word for green glazes. And these wares were unusual, that they were unusually high fired for the time. This was fired up to about 1300 degrees centigrade, which is really high temperature. And the glaze is rather thin, and deliberately so, because a thin glaze fired at a high temperature gives this translucency, which really shows off this superb carving all around the inside of the bowl. So it's a remarkable object, great object. But sadly it's been damaged, it's been broken in several pieces, and when I turn it over I can see the cracks and the restoration And many years ago, I learnt this trick about how to spot restoration on ceramics. So this is what I do. I have to take my mask off, so please excuse me. It's called a tooth test. So I rub. I'll put it back on again. I rub my tooth on the edge of the restoration, and I can actually tell the difference. The tooth is sensitive enough to be able to tell the difference between the paint and the porcelain. So even if it's invisible, you can actually tell that it's been restored. So it's a reminder that ceramics are vulnerable, they can be broken, but they can be restored, and when we're handling things that have been restored, we just have to be especially careful.
So now I'm going to talk to you about handling wooden objects in the collection. For the most part, we do not wear gloves when we're handling wood because cotton gloves and sometimes nitrile gloves can catch on some of the loose parts in a piece of wood, especially with inlay pieces such as this. This is a writing desk or cabinet from about the 18th century, and it's made in Germany, and it is a marquetry inlay walnut cabinet. So when you're opening and handling wood, you want to, again, assess the whole situation, see what's loose. You can see some of the cracking and lifting in some of the inlay. You want to use two hands. You don't ever want to force anything to open. And then if there are, say, metal handles, you want to make sure to use gloves whenever you're handling any of the metal pieces on a piece of wood. When you open a drawer, so these pulls are all actually made out of wood, so I don't need to wear gloves. You only use the pull to get the drawer started until you can change your grip to be around the edge of the drawer. And then you can pull it out, supporting the bottom and the sides so that it doesn't drop and hit the cabinet. One of the really cool things about this piece are all of the secret and hidden drawers in it. I'm just going to show you some of the drawers. Open this door. You can see that there's a cabinet space inside. It's a little box, but that actually comes out. The cabinet comes out to reveal secret drawers at the back of it, as well as secret drawers on the interior of the cabinet.
So then, well assembled. What is it?
So this is an apern from 1765. It was made by Thomas Pitts. It has the proper marks, including a city mark, a sterling mark, the maker's mark, and the year mark, the date mark, which is a centerpiece for a fancy dinner and would often hold candies and treats and fruits in all of the little baskets.
And this belonged to the founder of Drexel University.
Yes, this is was donated in about 1893 to the Drexel collection. It came from the personal collection of A.J. Drexel, and it's actually engraved with the Drexel coat of arms and his wife Ellen Rose A. Drexel's initials.
Fantastic. And we were looking at a Chinese dish before, and now we have something which is the European version of China. It's a style called chinoiserie, which was really fashionable in the 18th and early 19th century. And this dish it's English silver. It's made in the late 18th century, and the design is based broadly on not Chinese but actually English furniture and architectural patterns, sort of thing created by Thomas Chippendale and William Haley and William Chambers. But it still has this flavour of China, that the topmost part of the centerpiece is in the form of a pagoda roof with these dangling bells, and there's a pineapple on top. Pineapple, that's not really a native London fruit.
So now I want to show you our collection of miniatures. We have over 600 miniature pieces in the collection. The majority of them were donated in the 1970s by Marjorie Ellis Crowha, a 1914 graduate from Drexel's Home Economics Department. All of these miniatures were rehoused in 2017 by a summer co-op, Claudia Heller, and 2 work-ready students, Jakaya Barnhill and Lanaya Hodges. I just want to show you a little bit closer shot of the miniature accessories. So we decided to put them in these larger boxes with individual trays for the different types of accessories. Each tray has twill tape tabs so that we're able to carefully lift them out of the boxes while keeping them flat and organized. As you can see, we have our metal miniature accessories here, and then we have glass in that second tray. Welcome to the Anthony J. Drexel Picture Gallery. This gallery is located on the 3rd floor of the main building, and it's open Monday through Fridays from 3:30 to 5 p.m. This space was built to house a collection of landscape paintings from John D. Lankinow, who's A.J. Drexel's brother-in-law. In 1902, when they built this space, it was designed to look like to be a Victorian gallery with the classic salon-style hang and the red burlap walls. In this space here, we actually have a number of pieces that were from A.J. Drexel's personal collection, including 2 pieces by Martin Rico, who's a Spanish artist, as well as 2 pieces that were actually from the original Lankinow collection. So now we're going to run through how we handle paintings in the collection. So first off, we wear gloves with gilded frames. Even though they're made of wood, the gilt picks up on your oils in your skin, so gloves are important. One thing to also make sure you do is only handle artwork of any kind, and particularly paintings, when it's necessary. And for this, we are actually de-installing a lot of the paintings out of the picture gallery for an exhibition with the Drexel's Writers' Room that's opening March 11th. So as you can see, a number of the paintings are already removed. We're going to move this painting. It is Landscape with Sheep from 1860 by Jules Dupré. And one of the key elements to handling paintings is that you want to grip with a mirror image, grip with your partner helping you move the painting.
Don't want to fall over the stanchion.
Correct. So you want to make sure that you clear obstacles. So Derek removed the wire for the stanchions, but he needs to make sure not to trip over that. So you do mirror image, you count 1, 2, 3, and you lift and release it from the hooks. And then we use a A-frame paintings cart to move the artwork. So one of the things with gilt frames is you want to be very careful of all of the ornament on the artwork. This one luckily has a pretty flat profile, so we're able to set it directly down onto the cart. But in other situations, you might have to use blocks to block out the flatter parts of frames so that the decoration doesn't rub. And then what you do is you use twill tape to secure the painting to the cart through the wires.
What you do is on the side as well.
Happy to. And this just keeps it in place when you're turning or moving around the collection spaces. Now we're going to roll this into storage in preparation for the exhibition, and we'll meet you back downstairs to say no. Thank you for joining us today as we learned about handling in the Drexel collection. And I also want to thank all of the VRIM 110 student directors and the generous donors to the Drexel collection.
And we love working with Drexel students. It's been a privilege, so thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.